Thank you, Jason. Thank you, everybody. We're running on poet time. We're about 30 minutes behind, but I have great faith in our ability to catch up, and I'm very pleased to introduce you now to our next host, Patricia Spears-Jones.
Something if I can.
Oh, let's get you
All right. Oh, thank you. My Hello Kitty man is right here for me. He's the Hello Kitty man. All right. Everybody who's here, I'm so glad that you are. Happy New Year. There are wonderful books and other publications in the back and excellent food. If you buy it, some of the money goes to the Poetry Project. All of the money goes to the Poetry Project, I just was told. If you're not a member of the Poetry Project, why don't you join? All right, we have a great hour, and we're going to move it or lose it, as they say. So I hope that the following folks are here, and we can get them on stage and let them share their fabulousness. All right. I'm going to wait till people settle in and settle down and settle. Settle, 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 settle. All right. We're going to start this wonderful, not 5 p.m., but more like 5:45 p.m. time with Kimberly Alidio. She's the author of four books, including Teeter, which will be published by Night Boat Books, which is a great publisher, later this year. Kimberly, take it away.
Hello? Okay. Happy New Year. Pleasure to be here. Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
I wasn't expecting that. 9 April 2020. Arc of a moving vehicle like a spaceship, starting up, live delay. A continuous military aircraft. Starting north on North 1st, west on East 2nd, south on Herbert, one of many glorious alleys east on University. A walk is linear in one sense, circular when return meets departure, still to time and place in memory. A recorded sound walk a few weeks into quarantine. The grief of both. The vertigo of sonic memory suggests you've gone off the map. The passing of one with a name of a month after the passing of one with a professional pronoun different than the personal. To write in word pairs, one too many words, to teeter. Verbs and adjectives and noisy twos. By whose hand does an author die? J, how have you reconciled the theory of M's self-care when M is known for taking her own life? Loop by cut and paste every 10 seconds. Reverse every duplicate. Living is an act of cession, letting it slip from grasp. To decide is lonely. To find the third. Of a walk interrupted by looking. To train the ear only to the time of each decay until the body gives out some industry of stations and a train for embarking and disembarking. Fix each bristle back onto the badger brush, just picked clean. Dyke beard pricks, feather marks, fact the lyric. Tenderness understands stream of stresses, vel, lect. Private speak, dismantle, desperate demand for poet emotional support animal. Remnant rests ether in osteo, mass, heft, scan. In the channel for emotive, conative, phatic, and poetic functions, we track in lament an infant's late-term fetal hearing. Our hearing searches out their hearing. In my poem, An Abstraction of My Voice, you may search out my childhood hearing. Dream. I was a baby who spoke 7 languages, but none of them my parents used. Sorry to wake you. In my dream department box, Mauricio left me 3 dozen dream eggs and 5 individually wrapped Cadbury dream eggs. My dream name, according to my dream chair over the dream loudspeaker, is Amber Alidio. Can we hear from her now? Happy New Year. Thank you.
Happy New Year. Thank you, Kimberly. Next up, Marcelo Duran, wonderful poet, editor, environmentalist, and author of To Husband is to Tender from Black Square Editions. And she's a former editor of the Poetry Project newsletter. A very, very amazing achievement. All right, Marcella.
I am so grateful to be in the hour hosted by Patricia Spears-Jones. Thank you. And it's so nice to be here and to see you all. It's been a long 2 years over little cubes. So thank you for coming out tonight. And thank you to the Poetry Project staff, as always, for the immense work it takes to put this amazing event on. So. And I just want to mark for a second, too, the passing of Bernadette Mayer this year, who has been such an important presence to, I think, a lot of us in this audience today. Bernadette. Mark how the ocean returns, and how the real is questioned, and how language is real, maybe, and how it interrelates to the real, and how a word for reality that expresses a reality current with what we call nature, or non-human, or wildlife, or habitat, or biome, or the environment, or ecology, or ecosystem, or the planet, or earth, or world, or life, is not quite what we need, not what we need to say, and does not convey how human continues into, exists, intersects, depends upon, is sustained by, is linked to, interlinked, is part of, not quite part of, is in, but not of, what is around us and makes us and keeps us and is us, but we see it as very much not us and act as though we continue to be separate. What word would that be? The ocean, it returns. Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Marcella. Next up, Edmund Berrigan, author of More Gone, and performs music as I Feel Tractor and with other art ensemble. I love the fact that it's called I Feel Tractor. I don't know why. Anyway, Edmund Berrigan.
My friend Adam was explaining poetry to his mother one day as they were driving along and they passed a tractor. And she said, "What, so I could say I feel tractor and that's poetry?" So that's how that happened. This poem takes place in Prospect Park, where I've spent the last several years sort of reviewing and shredding and storing my sanity. And I borrowed some lines from my brother. I'll give them back when I'm done. Walk in the park. Wing flap is giving me duck vibes. Takes more than good aim. We all want to know what's in that rock. Once knew a guy, seen him coming through the air, shook his hand, mine disappeared. June asked me if I wanted watermelon or fruit punch, and then gave me both. I need to get home before I go home. Come to Albion and ride a horse. Caught a glimpse of a glimpse. She's really good at farming fragments. I couldn't even tell you that forever will last forever. What concepts we have when we're not here to invert them. I've come to a lot of unseated conclusions. Now my task is to diminish what lips can do in justice. If I sit on the stoop again, it will reverberate back in time. I'm underneath them, and then in the coiffure where Leroy was ambassador. He came up to our apartment and just sat there, kind of thing a neighbor might do. There's a magic to the desert I'm waiting for, a magic to the closing party. I went and talked to no one. I wanted to know if a computer equaled real life. A recording is not a moment. Someone else's great uncle kicks my legs, apologizes, looks away. The sign said, free crate, not haunted. But there was a mouse, 4 feet in the air, just a foot over there. Library represented by skull candle on books. Sublimation of anger displacement checks its 5 o'clock shadow at angles favorable to chin. Are we saying the perception of infinity has no beginning? There are hopes that can't be quantified, like one for a quiet 4th of July. And which home should I return to when I go? In my dream, I shake hands with a water buffalo. We discuss the mode of the beast. The least shall be first, the first deceased, each day's molecular pew.
Rhyming with water buffalo. Now that's cool. Next up, Iris McLuhan, a writer, performance maker, and artist from Brooklyn.
Hello, Happy New Year. I'm just so grateful to be here in a room where there's a crowd big enough that I don't recognize everyone, all here to listen to poetry. It's kind of amazing. This is called Afterwards, I Thought of Snow. I asked my friends after dinner in a brownstone constructed from rock cut out of a quarry I used to run to with my friend who was alive one day and then was not. We're eating dessert, a cake of meringue so soft a fork is enough to cut it. It has a name, merveilleux, marvelous, and marvelous it is. I lick my fork and I ask these friends, what is your dream apocalypse role? As if society will simply revert in the face of a more acute catastrophe than the one we're currently in, to a kind of quaint, hyperlocal past, a village where everyone specializes in one task. My friend says, tavern maid. And I'm immediately jealous. I want to be the tavern maid, wrapped in stained linen, reeking of beer and leaking gossip. Who is sneaking around with who? Who has been slipping into the woods to whisper with visions? Who broods with a wild dark and might snap the stillness of the village night with screaming or violence? Who dreams of elsewhere? Who is stupid enough to long for something more than this? I long for a world collapsed, or more accurately, shrunk. Reduced to the area a few torches can illuminate, and the rest of it shapeless, seductive, with the potential to erase my life and its simple routines, sweep the floor, fill the glass, wipe the table, watch my customers dance on the edge of what's available. Slow and shuddering dance of constraint, the leading partner, material limit. The cake is delicious, I savor it. Bitter chocolate, sweet cream, and a hint of coffee twist into a pleasant slick of fat on my tongue. A cushion with a calming weight, its gravity saying, this is how to think about what comes later. Make it a parlor game, a further bit of light at the end of a happy night. a mental dance that skips and glides over the simple fact that the most marvelous thing is how quick what's sweet can collapse into a litany of gray, ash lofted on an autumn breeze. I don't ask the questions that come after. Would you take a pill? Or would you starve? Or choose the gun, its flash final, sharp? Would you do your partner first? If they asked, could you bear to? I could, I think, staring across the table at my husband, teeth pressed against the tines of a dessert fork, perfect in its weight and heft, as something marvelous becomes nothing in the time span of a single breath. Thank you.
Thank you, Iris McLuhan. All right. Up next, Alexis Almeida is the author of I Have Never Been Able to Sing, and she lives in Brooklyn. Alexis.
Hi, Happy New Year. I'm so happy to be here. This is an older poem. I remembered it recently because I was home in Chicago where I grew up near a lake. And I wanted to dedicate it to Bernadette Mayer, and it's after Renee Gladman. Poem in which you become the hands on my stomach. Today the lake was blue. Today the lake was blue without knowing the lake was a lake. The lake was blue without knowing. The lake was blue without knowing the lake was blue, and blue at its edges, and blue in its waves. The lake was blue without knowing blue and without touching the blue or the green. The lake was blue without seeing blue, or seeing the blue above the blue at its edges, and seeing also the green at its edges. Without seeing the waves crash against the yellow sand, without seeing the danger in the waves crashing against the yellow sand, and the animals like crabs scurrying toward the waves, and the people walking like nothing was happening and seeing the blue of the waves and thinking how beautiful, while all the while they were turning towards some light in the sky. Today the lake was blue, and the people there were walking and looking and turning towards some light in the sky, and the animals were moving toward the crashing waves. And without visually seeing the blue turn to green, the memory of the blue was sitting inside all of them. It was sitting inside them like something someone had mentioned about the sky, like the imprint left on a body when it has turned but is no longer aware of its turning. How could a story just end otherwise? And this was one form of life turning into another. Today the lake was blue, and without knowing blue, the lake had turned green. And the people were walking, and the crabs were rushing toward the crashing waves. And the memory of the blue was like an imprint on the yellow sand, and the sand was like a memory someone had mentioned once. It was the passing of so many memories into the light, of one form into another. So the waves were there, and the blue was sitting inside them, all those who were no longer present in their turning. And we were walking and laughing and thinking how beautiful. And without knowing, without thinking, nothing was happening. We were turning toward the lake at its edges, toward some other light in the sky. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And also, thank you, Alexis, for bringing up Bernadette Mayer. There are many ghosts in this room. For as many people who are sitting here, there are many who have sat here before. And let us all remember that as well. All right. Next up, Garrett DeVoe, singer-songwriter, who under the moniker Pure Horsehair has released 4 LPs, 6 EPs, 1 live record, and a small book of poems. Hit it.
All right, thanks. swallowing stones, headed for the coast. Blood in my eyes, no time for a toast. Didn't take the hint, but I sure got a notion. Swallowing stones, headed for the ocean. I'd burn, singing off up into the bleachers, completely unaware it's the last of a species. Future's a fingerprint floating in a song. Dawn holds the evidence. Most these songs are gone. Lovable monsters doing hideous things. Kong's dead, now we done it. Gone and killed ourselves, the king. With our animal verve and our monster's intuition, naked to the nerve, we're the elephant in the kitchen. Ghost riders in the sky, how clouds make their faces, weft of the wind obliterates their traces. Glimmer in the heavens when dancing dust is kicked up high. Brilliance in the way those ghost riders pass us by. Lovable monsters doing hideous things. Kong's dead, now we done it. Gone, killed ourselves, the king. Swallowing stones, swallowing stones, swallowing stones, swallowing stones. Thank you.
Thank you, Garrett DeVoe. Next up, Emily Johnson, who is a land and water protector and organizer for justice, sovereignty, and well-being. Emily lives on the Lower East Side of Manhattan and Lenapehoking. And I know I didn't say that correctly. I apologize, but I tried. Okay, Emily Johnson, come on up.
Whale enters the room, undulates its spine, rolls its huge belly forward, opens its mouth. Water pours over its teeth, out the door, down the stairs. There is smell of rain. Whale's soft eye is gazing at everyone in the room. Whale takes a deep breath, and then there is the sound of breath. The floor sinks a bit under its weight, creaks, and then there is a sound the world has never heard. All the people in the room drop their heads, their shoulders, and their arms and their hands to the floor, and we are crawling forward in the sound, each one of us toward Whale, and we want to touch it, want to remember, want to hear, want to rock into that belly. We are whispering. We are whispering without knowing. We are whispering ongoing, everlasting, forgotten sounds. Sounds we forgot of our mothers. Sounds our mothers made when we first entered the world.
Okay. Emily, disembodied. Okay. So now we're next for some embodiment, I hope. Diana Rickard, poet, sociologist, and somebody studying wrongful conviction and document. We know that's tough. Her poems have appeared in here, there, but not everywhere. I kind of have that understanding.
Thank you everyone for coming. Thank you so much to the poetry staff here who brings us all together all year round. I can write really good, serious poems, I really can, but this is not one of them. You asked for it. This poem is about soap commercials and Martha Stewart. This poem is about a bad dream and a childhood memory. This poem is about how great Nirvana was. This poem is about grape nuts and Malamars, a high-fiber, high-fructose poem. This is an expensive poem, the one that depleted my savings. This is the poem you won't understand. It's also the poem where I ran out of cat food. It's a ready-made, cut-up, about my friend's art poem. This poem was never delivered, and it's about a spy thriller. This poem is as big as my belly and a lot older than you. It's a grandiose poem, an over-the-top poem. It's a poem about psychoanalysis and ballerinas, and it was written for this very reading. This is the best-looking poem you ever did see, but this is also about how women are not allowed to age. And yet this poem does not care at all what you think of it. This poem can't stop reading James Schuyler. This poem loves Bill Kushner's poems. This poem is about how freaked out we used to be about Starbucks and Barnes & Noble, and about how our city changed and keeps changing. And you so totally know this poem is better than your poems. This poem is a mistranslation. This poem is a sonnet. This is the poem I think is so brilliant, and you totally weren't expecting such a great poem. Sparrow encouraged this poem. Shari hoped I'd write this poem. I plagiarized this poem. This is the poem I least regret. This is the poem I brought to the cleaners. This is a what the heck is flowers for Algernon? Who was he type poem. It's a right now Madonna's Instagram poem. This is the poem about my Carhartt jacket. This is that poem. This is the poem that cut the cheese. This poem doesn't smell so good. It's the poem you made fun of. You have to sit down for this poem. This poem is the morning of the poem. This poem is holy, holy, holy. This poem is an open secret. This is the poem that became radioactive. Everyone argues about this poem. Oh, how Truck laughed when they heard this poem. This is the poem because they didn't have cherries. It's obviously a grocery poem. This poem is about the plums were too ripe. It's a good source of calcium poem. This poem doesn't know how much water to put in the vase. It's a Mrs. Dalloway poem. This poem forgot to take off its mask. It's a COVID poem. This is an all my poems are the same poem. Ew, it's a Park Slope poem. This poem wonders if you know who already wrote this poem. This is a holy shit girl, keep on writing poem, but this is also the poem you're ready to end. It's an all right already poem. This is the poem you can't pull off twice. Better get it all in this poem. This is the poem with easy syntax. Even you could write this poem. This poem remembers this poem. Whether you like it or not, this is the poem you deserve, and I'm not taking it back. Happy New Year.
All right, two more. Our the host for the former hour, Jason P. Smith. Where are you? You are a Bronx-born poet, movement artist, educator, and founder of Nomad. Oh, and also a man with an extraordinarily fabulous afro. Thank you very much. Jason P. Smith.
There we go. I know how this works. Hi, everyone, again. Here's a poem. In the dream, I am still in love with the idea of a future. As before, I watch my love contained, the rot surveyed as he looks for a child, for progressions in negative space as I rend my garments, gently at first. I still cannot trust, steel myself with a threadbare urge to abandon, even without the grief of routine. Its terrifying innovations. I remain national, inquire about the murderous with less aplomb. I am told it takes time to stand firm on harm, learn a decorum, aphorism. A house is not a home, it is a debt. Or I taint my silhouette with description and run towards death. We know more entertaining routes now. Voyeurs of the month via drone footage, talk therapy through the lie of ubiquity and secret DuPont diets. Can you forgive my belief in peril while we sit, tolerant of more time, illusion, acquisitions, something other than a cruel world to call love, as it is, as it was, all at once in accumulation without debate, distinction, hope, or once soundless, I say despair and feel gradual, tide-like, a quiet deity put to good use. Thank you.
Jason, and thank you for hosting. You're fabulous. Fabulous, fabulous, fabulous. And now we have the fabulous Lynn Tillman. Lynn Tillman's most recent work is Mother Care, a book-length, whatever it is. Okay, a book-length, go ahead, girl. A book-length autobiographical essay about taking care of her sixth mother with her sisters for 11 years. Good Lord. Lynn Tillman.
Thank you. It's really great to be back. I haven't done this in a long time, and it's good to see all of you. It's also amazing to see a lot of people in a room after lockdown and stuff. So I'm going to read two very short pieces. Beauty isn't important, but everybody talks about it. It is important, but not in the way everybody talks about it. Beauty can't be defined, so it can't be talked about, since no one knows what they are saying or what they mean when they use the word beauty. It cannot be defined because it is not stable. It changes over time. People make subjective judgments, which also change over time. People change over time and with the times. In one time, something was considered beautiful. In another time, it is not. Beauty has no standards. Gold was once a standard. Beautiful to some and not to others, an uneven hem, an uneven face, beautiful. And there are many reasons. The face of the globe isn't symmetrical, for one. People want different things, and to the great majority, need comes way before desire. Beauty as an idea and an image is unimportant to a starving person. Food is beautiful then, eating and being fed. Some wealthy people starve themselves to look beautiful, and eating is anathema to them. Beauty lives in a context. It is easily unbalanced. A beautiful car next to a desperate human being is ugly. Beauty cannot stand up to inequity. It always fails. And thanks. And this is, thank you, and this is another piece, and it's quite different. Remember when you would get into a taxi, some of you might know, and you would have a long conversation with the taxi driver? Well, this is a story. The taxi driver was born in Georgia and came to the United States when he was 10. He told me that his English wasn't that good and he hadn't wanted to go to college because he didn't have to go. He was free to do what he wanted. Now, driving a cab, he had some regret, but didn't know what he would study. I asked, "What interests you?" He said, "Philosophy. But I have the best philosophy, so why would I need to study anyone else's?" I asked what his philosophy was, and he told me that things didn't name themselves and other ideas, none of which were explained clearly. He was clearly smart, though. He commented that we were now really talking to each other, having a conversation. I said, "Yes, we are. We are trying to understand each other," I said. "Yes," he said. Then he said something brilliant, and I am still thinking about it. Language is a conspiracy between two people. Yes, that's a good definition of language. But I was stunned and asked, "Do you know that conspire means to breathe together? People do that," I said. "And you believe in doubt?" "Yes," he said, "yes." So I said, "You shouldn't be sure that your philosophy is better than anyone else's." He pulled up in front of my building and took my suitcase out of the trunk. He said it was good talking with me. I said I liked it too. And then as he opened the car door, he looked back. "Maybe I'll pick you up another time." "It happens," he said. "Sure," I said, "it could happen." Thank you. Thank you.